am Sonia Pennock. I'm a member of the Arapahoe County League of Women Voters. Those of you who know about the League know that we are an organization whose mission is to promote informed and active citizen participation in government. And to that end, we also host candidate forums similar to this. We register people to vote and we provide information on ballot issues. I'd like to welcome you again. It's a good crowd and I'm glad you're here. And I'd like to welcome the candidates. Thank you for participating in our democratic system. This year, voters in Douglas County have the opportunity to elect 4 new candidates to the Board of Education. They will serve 4-year terms. I'd like at this time just to introduce the candidates. From District B, Barbara Chase. And is Jim Geddes going to be with us?
He said he would.
Okay, well, I hope he arrives.
Excuse me, Dr. Geddes is in surgery. So,
well, if he can make it, we'll just hope that he can come.
He was definitely planning on it.
District D, Julie Kime and Judith Reynolds. District E, Doug Benevento, Bill Hodges. And District G, Rhonda Schulting and Megan Silverthorne. In order to ensure that the meeting provides the best opportunity for you to hear from the candidates and for you to get your questions asked and answered, the AAUW has established ground rules for the conduct of the meeting. And these rules have been provided to the candidates, and I'd like to share them with you right now. First of all, we ask that you refrain from demonstrations, either positive or negative, regarding a point of view. So I'm asking that you not boo or hiss or clap. You'll have an opportunity to clap at the end of the meeting. There will be time limits on all of the presentations, and they will be strictly observed. The timekeeper, who is in the back room, will hold cards, and they are visible to the speakers, indicating how much time remains. When the stop card is held up, that means stop. We're going to move on to the next candidate. I guess they can finish their sentence.
Well, maybe it's a short sentence.
I will have the responsibility for enforcing the time limits. The moderator will also have the authority to remind the audience of the ground rules. I guess that's all I need to say about that. We ask the panelists, just as we ask the audience to respect each other and the panelists, we ask the panelists to respect each other. We ask that they not interrupt each other, not engage in personal attacks, or make charges against each other. Questions are going to be taken from the audience. If you haven't, there is an opportunity to pick up question cards, and I believe they're at the back. Right over here.
If anybody needs one.
If you have a question, you write it on an index card, 1 question to a card, and they'll be collected, and then they will be screened, but only for duplicates. We just want to ask 1 question once, each question once. I may restate the question if maybe it's a really long question, and I think I can simplify it. I may jump in and try to restate the question. We ask those who are recording this evening to please respect AAUW's nonpartisanship stance. And we also ask that you follow federal communication guidelines, that rules, to preserve the context or intent of what is being said and air the recording in its entirety. One other thing, as a courtesy to each other, I'd like to ask that you turn off your cell phones right now. And I hope I turn mine on. Okay, here's how the meeting will begin. Each candidate will have a 3-minute opening statement. That will be followed by a 50-minute question and answer period that will be broken in half and broken up with a 10-minute break in between. Following the question and answer period, there will be an opportunity for the candidates to make their closing statements. Now, I would like to invite each candidate to make their 3-minute opening statement. You will be notified when you have 30 seconds remaining and when you have 10 seconds remaining, and then the stop card's going to start ringing. And then, 1 minute, you're going to let them know you're going to get to that 1 minute also. Except when we get to the questions, of course, all you have is a minute to answer. At the end of the 3 minutes, we will move on to the next candidate. For the opening statements, we will proceed by district alphabetically and by candidate alphabetically. So, Barbara Chase, you're on.
Do I stand or do I?
Whatever makes you happy.
Use the microphone.
Oh, you have a microphone. So just turn it. When's my clock start? Turn it on. This is on. Okay. I'm new at this. Hi, I'm Barbara Chase, and I am a public school kid from the great state of Iowa. And I am a 23-year resident here in Douglas County. I have 2 children in Douglas County schools, one in 7th grade, one in 9th grade. And having been an executive of parent-teacher groups in Douglas County since 2005, and helping to raise $500,000 net spendable dollars to our schools over that time period, I understand the current state of school funding and the priorities of parents on how funding is best spent. I've attended SAC, DAC, and board meetings and understand what benefits our kids for the best education possible. I would like to address several issues of concern tonight, including the flat to declining assessment scores, record low teacher morale, and inaccurate budgeting. I have neighbors and friends who have moved out of Douglas County because of these reasons. The Board of Education and Superintendent's unwillingness to recognize and address these real problems is of great concern to me. Douglas County School District has a long history of excellence and innovation, and this legacy is now at risk, and I'd like to be part of that solution. First, I would work to restore resources to our schools through accurate budgeting so that schools receive their operating budget in time to plan effectively and efficiently. Second, I would restore our high schools by putting kids back in school full time, reduce student-teacher ratios, and increase the amount of instructional time to better prepare our students for college and careers. And third, I would bring the public back to our public schools by addressing plummeting parent satisfaction in the Douglas County School District. Again, I'm Barbara Chase, District B.
Thank you, Barbara. Yes, we'll move on to District D, Julie Conley.
Hi, I really don't like microphones, and I also can't say anything in 3 minutes. So I'm going to say, I agree with a lot of what Barbara just said, and then I'll tell you a little bit about myself. So I am very passionate about education. I received an amazing public education. Stand up. Would you prefer I stand up?
Yes.
Sorry. So I received an amazing public education. I came from a background where I didn't necessarily have the support in my home that I would like to have had, and teachers made an incredible impact on me, and I feel like I've grown to be a very valuable citizen. Public education, I think, is a foundation of what our country is built upon, and I believe that it is what allows each of us the opportunity to believe in and succeed when it comes to the American dream. I believe that we are at a pivotal point in education. I believe that we need to look at our schools and see how we develop our children to live and exist in the environment in which they are living in. It's really different from when we grew up, isn't it? We have all kinds of technology, they have information at their fingertips, so we really have to teach them how to use that information and how to be critical thinkers and go beyond just rote memorization, which is how we were educated. I have been involved in my children's classrooms. I have 3 children. One is away at college. He just graduated as a junior from Castleview High School, and he is at Lehigh University in Pennsylvania. I have 2 daughters. One is in 6th grade at Larkspur, and the other is a sophomore at Castleview High School. So I've been involved in all of their classes since pre-K, even since preschool. And I have been very involved in all levels. I've volunteered in the classroom. I've gone on field trips. I've, been on every parent-teacher organization group, gone to all the SAC meetings, and even founded some groups at the secondary level so that we could get kids and parents involved in their secondary education. So education is very important to me. My background is I'm actually a CPA by trade that used to audit schools. I was the finance director of a $2 billion agency that got its first clean audit under my watch. I also was a consultant for one of the largest consulting firms in the nation, in the world actually, and I helped public entities develop policies, procedures, and systems that made them accountable and also customer service oriented. So with that said, I believe I bring a lot of skills to the table. I'm not going to waste a lot of time talking about issues because I think we'll be hearing a lot about issues tonight. So thank you all for being here, and I look forward to your questions. Thanks.
District D, Judith Reynolds.
Good evening. Let's try again. Good evening. My name is Judy Reynolds. I'm a parent of 3 Douglas County School District students. I have a 3rd grader, I have a 6th grader in middle school, and I have a freshman in high school. I'm a mom who's been very involved for quite a few years. I've been involved in SACs at the school level, which are school accountability committees. Those are the committees that work with the staff and the principals at the school to decide what is best for the children at that particular school. I also sit on the DAC, which is the District Accountability Committee, and I work on some district level issues. About 4 years ago, I decided that I needed to know a whole lot more about what made our school district work, why things were happening, like having to pay for our buses and some other issues that were coming up revolving around finances in our school district. What I found is that I needed to start attending board meetings. So for the last 4+ years, almost twice a month on Tuesday nights, I find myself at the Wilcox building attending board meetings, learning about the highs and wheres and how our district works. Some of the things that I've discovered is that our district is very different from the way that most school districts work. What happens is our buildings are allowed to do their own budgeting, they're allowed to do their own hiring. At the end of the year, if they have money left over, they are allowed to keep that money for the best purposes for the children in that school. And that's where I come from. I believe that education should focus on the children, that we should focus on each child, and that we should afford each child the best possible opportunity for an education that will get them where they need to go. Thank you.
All right, that's District D, Doug Bento.
Thank you, and thank you to the league for hosting, or for moderating, the American Association of University Women for hosting the event. It's good for us to get together, and it's good for us to talk to people, because then we get challenged, and that's appropriate. And I think it's a good idea for us to also meet each other as people. You know, there's a sort of these are political races, there's winners and there's losers, but we're also humans, we're also people, and we also live in the same county. So getting together, I think, is a good thing. I'm a father of 2. I have a 5-year-old Kate and an 8-year-old Anna, and they are kindergartner and 3rd graders, respectively. The measure of my volunteerism is today I dressed up as Julius Caesar for Roman Day in the school. And so it was a great event. So we went in, and it was Roman Day, and it transformed the school. It looked like ancient Rome, and I was supposed to give a talk as Julius Caesar, and I said, well, you know you've been transported back to ancient Rome because Julius Caesar has a BlackBerry. And you guys get it. Yeah, the 3rd graders lost them. Lost. So I'm the incumbent. I'm in District D, and I've been serving 4 years. And I thought what I would talk about a little bit is what's happened in 4 years, because you're going to hear a lot, and you're going to hear some back and forth, but there are facts, and I think facts are important. These are the facts. The facts are we've cut wasteful spending, and we put a higher percentage of dollar into the classroom. That even with the cuts that we have taken, which I'll talk about in a minute, there is more of the education dollar going in the classroom than previously. Our ACT results are up. Our graduation rate is up from 5.5% over the past 4 years. And that number is not as remarkable as it sounds, because what they did is they changed the requirements halfway through. This is on-time graduation rate. This is kids who are graduating in 4 years. That number is up. Previously, it was graduation overall, so somebody graduated in 5.5 years or otherwise, that's counted as graduating. We have maintained the highest graduation rate in the metro area. We've cut $1.9 million in 20 FTE in central administration. In 2009, 495 kids were in concurrent enrollment, kids taking college classes. Today, there are 2,842, saving parents $2 million. Kids taking college classes and saving parents money. That is a good deal. AP tests taken in 2009, 4,513. Today, 13,730. And the numbers go on. We've decreased class sizes. And you're going to hear a lot about decreased enrollment or decreased class time. It's a matter of minutes. It's a decision we made that I hope we get a chance to talk about. And I thank you again for having us here. Thank you.
Next will be Bill Hodges.
Thank you to both the AAUW and to the League of Voters. I'm Bill Hodges, and tell you a little bit about myself, because like some have already said, we're going to get to the issues. My wife retired from the school system 2 years ago as the elementary art teacher in Larkspur. I retired 2 years ago as the assistant superintendent of HR. I have 28 years experience in the private sector, the last 3 years helping 3 gentlemen start a financial consulting company. And then I went to work for the school district in 2001, and as I say, I retired in July 2011 as the assistant super of HR. I have a daughter-in-law who teaches in the system. I have 2 grown children that graduated through the system. I have 2 grandsons who are enrolled in an elementary school in the system. I have 2 younger grandchildren who will attend the system in Highlands Ranch. So I have a very deep, vested interest in the direction that this board takes. I don't believe all voices are being heard at the table. I will change that. I think we need to have listening tours. I think with the public to talk to us about what's right, what's wrong about the district, what their concerns are, how could we improve those situations. I believe we need fiscal transparency so that you see where all of your dollars are being spent, what is being aggregated from private donations, and how that money is being spent as well. I think we need to hire more teachers and lower the class size. I think we need to increase graduation requirements. Our kids are going to school part-time, and that is not right. They're not able to compete on a level playing field with kids across this state and across this country and trying to get into the schools of their choice because of the lack of rigor. But I know we'll get into those issues more, and I'll stop with that, and I appreciate you coming.
All right. District G, Rhonda Schulten.
Good evening, everybody. Thanks for the American Association of University Women for holding this, and also the League for being the moderator. And I'm so happy to see some familiar faces and some not familiar faces here this evening. You know, it's very important that we all come together for this forum because we all have a stake in public education. Whether you're a parent, a teacher, a taxpayer, a community member, everyone can identify with the public school district and their community. Because a strong public school district helps businesses in our district grow. It also helps attract new businesses, and it helps attract families, new families that want to move here because the district is so strong. My husband and I moved to Douglas County because of the great schools, and thanks to some very dedicated principals and teachers, our 2 boys were able to walk across that stage with a diploma in their hand, and that was a day that anybody who's a parent in the room can identify with, because it was exciting for us, because there were struggles along the way, but they did it, and now they're on with their lives. My oldest, in fact, just got married last weekend, and he and his new wife will be living in Douglas County, so soon I'll have grandchildren in the district as well. But since my kids have graduated, things have changed in Douglas County. You now see headlines about mismanagement of taxpayer dollars. You see things that, honestly, we didn't see when my 2 boys were going to school. That concerns me, and that's why I'm running. You've also seen, perhaps, some of the TV commercials that have been out. It's working in Douglas County, is what they say. I'm here to tell you tonight that myself and hundreds, if not thousands, of other parents don't believe it is working in Douglas County. When you lower graduation requirements, you cut the number of teachers in the classroom, and you cut the resources to those classrooms with class sizes growing, and you also grow administrators. in the district. That is something that is not really headed in the right direction. Douglas County, these are the administrators, by the way, it's not working here. What I want to do, if I am elected, is to push more resources into the classroom, lower class sizes, hire more teachers, give our kids the tools they need to succeed, whether they're going to college or whether they're going into the workforce. And I also want the community in on this conversation. For too long, we have not, as a district or the board, has listened to the community. Not everyone has a seat at the table. We need transparency, we need more voices. Because there isn't one person tonight in this room that has all the answers. It is all of us working together that can find the answers to the challenges that we face, and I hope that you will come with me on this journey and do what we can to strengthen our community. Thank you.
And the final opening statement will be Megan Silverthorne.
Well, good evening, everybody. I'm so glad you came tonight, and thank you to the AAUW and League of Women Voters for having us here. The school district is such an important part of our community. It's a central hub. It's a place where everybody knows in their neighborhood. We have events, we have exciting things that our kids are doing, and I could talk all night about the wonderful, wonderful things that are going on in our individual schools that are just fantastic. We have just seen an incredible evolution of kids. It's awesome. So I want to tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Megan Silverthorne, and I've lived in the district for almost 8 years. Really excited to be living here, actually. My husband and I live in Parker, in an unincorporated Douglas County, just outside of Parker, by Chaparral High School. And that's a great area because it's got, everything is close by, but it's got a lot of open space. So we love living in Douglas County. I'm a Denver native, so I've lived here since college, but I had the opportunity to grow up overseas. My father served in the U.S. Army, and he was also in the State Department. So I had the opportunity to be raised in a number of different educational environments, American, British, domestic and international, public and private. And so I've had a broad array of experience. I had an amazing, amazing education growing up. So one of the things I thought to myself was, before my husband and I have kids, and how can I be involved in the school system? How can I bring some of those incredible lessons learned that I saw overseas and here in the United States to Douglas County? We have an incredible community, and so we already had a really good school system. So what does that mean? Well, how do you go from really good to really outstanding? And I'm pleased to say that some of the things that we've been able to do have done that. And there are a lot of particular markers that I can talk about that I think we'll get into later this evening. But I love the kids that we have in this district. I love the kids we have in this county, and I've been able to get out there and talk to all kinds of parents and talk to our community. I think I have been able to develop a reputation of reaching to all kinds of different viewpoints and to all kinds of groups, and I've had a history of doing that. So that's really exciting to me, to understand where people are coming from throughout the county. One of the things that we have been able to do in the district is we've added 150 net teachers to our district this year. We've been able to push class sizes down, raise graduation rates. We've been able to, when people talk about graduation requirements, that was a decision made by the previous board more than 4 years ago. And so what that did was that saved $7 million to the district, which at that time was in very, very difficult financial straits. So I'm excited to talk about what that has meant for our district going forward. I know that there's a lot of conversation around that, and so I want to have those conversations. I want to thank you again for coming here and for talking with us via your questions. I'm available at any time, after this forum or any time in the future. I'd love to talk with you and understand what your thoughts are on our school district. So thank you very much, Megan Silverthorne.
All right, this is the time you're looking forward to, the questions. And it looks to me like there's a stack. So, okay, we're going to just confer. All right. A number of questions had been submitted by AAUW women before the meeting. And we will alternate their questions with questions from the audience. And if you have additional questions, get an index card, fill it out, and keep them coming. We'll do the best that we can. The way this will go is that I will ask the question. Each candidate will have 1 minute to respond to the question. Generally, we will start each new question with a different district, so people will get a chance to go first. If a question is addressed to a specific candidate, we'll start with that candidate, but every candidate will have an opportunity to respond. All right. Here's the first question. And we will start with Julie. You're welcome. We'll start with District D. Who initially contacted you to run for a seat on the board, and who do you best represent?
Who initially contacted me? I don't even know that I know if anyone contacted me. I've had people ask me to run for school board for many years. So it's something that I've thought about, but unfortunately in the political environment that we live in, it's very difficult to consider actually running and putting yourself out there. I finally got to a point in my life where my kids were old enough and I thought it was time for me to take action and do something. I was not seeing what I wanted to see in our school district. And could you please tell me the second part of the question again? Who do I represent?
And who do you represent?
I represent the community of Douglas County. I represent all of us who believe that public education is important and should be provided to all students, no matter whether they have strengths or weaknesses. We must provide the best education possible to everyone. Thank you.
Next will be Judy Reynolds.
I'm not sure that anyone contacted me to run for school board. It all came out of a conversation that I had with some friends. And the conversation went something like, my question was, what we really need is a mom on the school board. And the answer I got back was, well, so here I am. I'm running for school board. Who do I represent? I represent parents and students. I represent the opportunities that we want for our children and the things that we need in order to give them the education that best suits them. Thank you.
All right. Doug Benvento.
Thank you. I first ran 4 years ago, so I'm uncertain. I don't know if anybody contacted me. I know I talked, a guy who was currently on the board was a friend and said, hey, I'm serving, would you like to think about it? So I said, sure, I'll think about it. Then I went back and I pulled the paperwork and I decided to run. It was just kind of fun. I wonder if I can get 50 signatures. That's what you need to get on the ballot. So it started out as, gee, I wonder if I can get 50 signatures, and then it's something I think I can do. And I had kids going into the district at about that time. And so who do I serve?
Who do you represent?
Represent students, parents, teachers, taxpayers, my kids. What I want for them is what I want for every kid. I want them to have choice. I want them to have great teachers who are compensated for being great teachers. I want them to have opportunities that I want every child to have. And so that's who I represent.
Bill Hodges, you're up next.
Since it happened fairly shortly, not very long ago, it's easy for me to remember. My family is the one that encouraged me to run because of my connections and their connections into the school district. So whether it was my wife who retired from the school system, it was my son who has 2 grandboys in the system, or my daughter who has 2 younger grandchildren that will be in the system, they asked me to seriously think about running. Who do I represent? I represent you. I represent in this county both parents and teachers and classified, our bus drivers, our mechanics, our staff, our students, taxpayers, you name it. And those are the very people, I believe, that have been excluded and need to have a voice at the table. Thank you.
District G, Rhonda Schulten.
I actually was encouraged to run by several friends who have children who are in the district, elementary school, middle school, and also high school. And I felt a need, I guess, to serve. I actually right now am a member of the Parker South Metro Fire Board. So what this board does is take taxpayer dollars and decide how best to spend it. And I think that the Parker South Metro Fire Board has been very successful in keeping the families in the district safe and in hiring very good firefighters. And just in case you dial 911. I will serve everybody, quite frankly, and represent everyone. I am a parent and soon to be a grandparent at some point in time. I'm now just a taxpayer, like so many other folks. I don't have kids in the district. And I've talked to teachers, I've talked to many people about this, and I feel that I can serve all equally.
And Megan Silverthorne?
Well, as far as who contacted me, I don't know that anybody in particular. I did have a lot of conversations with folks about my experience growing up, and what that meant, what kind of education I'd had, and what that looked like. And if I do remember a particular conversation I had with a friend who said, you know how you're always talking about what you did overseas and what you did here in the United States and all these different educational experiences you had, and I said, yeah. And she says, well, have you ever thought about running for school board? And I thought, oh my goodness, what a great idea. So, I guess that was the only particular conversation I can think of, but I know that I was really pleased to have a lot of folks behind me in the last election. Regarding who I represent, I have been on the board for 4 years, so I have been really pleased in that time to work with a very broad array of people. Folks with no kids in the district, folks with kids, all kinds of people that live here in Douglas County. So it's really exciting to be part of that. Thank you.
All right. Barbara Chase?
I can remember specifically who asked me to run, and that was the teachers of Roxborough Elementary and the teachers of Branchview Middle School, and the PTIC, that's our parent-teacher group name. It's the Parent-Teacher Involvement Committee, but we created a tagline that called it People to Inspire Children. So when we took over that group in 2005, because everybody quit, we started with the Merrymen of 9 and grew up to 95, and soon it was over 400. And so I had several of those parents beg me to take this on and replicate what we did in our little Roxborough Elementary community and spread that like wildfire across the district. Who do I represent? Douglas County citizens and every employee here.
All right. The next question is for all the candidates. Have you attended school board meetings during the last year? And if not, during the last year, if you, okay. All candidates, have you attended school board meetings to the last year if you are not a current board member? Let me just ask this question. Have you attended school? I'm not sure this. Okay. I guess for those who are not school board members, the question is, have you attended school board meetings in the last year? And we will start with District E, and I guess it would be Bill Hodges. Okay?
I haven't attended as many I would like to, but I will tell you this, I've reviewed the minutes, the stuff that's on the district website to keep up with what's going on, decisions made, conversations that take place at those board meetings.
Okay. Rhonda Schulting?
Yes, I have a couple of board meetings, and as Bill just indicated, there are also, of course, the minutes posted on the website, and there is also a member of the community who's a parent who, if anybody likes Twitter, tweets from the board meetings as well. So I follow that during the board meetings to, if I cannot attend, to see what's happening and what's being said. But I always review review the minutes as well.
Okay. Barbara Chase?
I apologize, I don't know if it's within the last year, but yes, I've definitely been to board meetings, one of them where I accepted an award from John Carson for collaboration with our teachers at Ranchview.
Judy Reynolds? Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped. We'll come back to you.
Yes, I've been attending board meetings on a very regular basis for more than 4 years.
Julie?
I have attended some board meetings recently, but I will tell you that I haven't attended as many as I might have had the environment been different at board meetings. Currently, I don't know if any of you have been to a board meeting recently, but you have to just sit and listen. There's no interaction. You're not allowed to react. You're not allowed to get up and speak. For those who do get up and speak, they apply in advance, so you can't even comment about what's being said that night. You have to wait until 2 weeks later to comment on something that's being said before. They also videotape all of the meetings, so you can sit in the comfort of your home and watch them, rather than sitting there rather bored, honestly, and really not learning a whole lot and not being able to provide any input. In fact, I found it really frustrating, actually, to be able to have to sit there and be able to listen to what's being said without providing any comment whatsoever. So I have been attending, but it's not that fun. I'm hoping they get better in the future. Thanks.
I'm going to give the current board members a chance to respond. Doug?
Yes, and one of the great things we've done on the board is we've taken our board meetings out on the road. We've taken them to schools to solicit comment, to hear from what's happening with parents and with students and with teachers at the district. The other way, frankly, I have taken meeting with teachers and parents and students also individually. I was telling somebody the other day that I've had so many cups of coffee that I know the barista at Starbucks. If you wait for people to come to you, and that's what previous boards used to do, is sort of sit up there and then they would do and take public comment, and then they wouldn't respond to it. Instead of doing what previous boards have done, which I hope we don't go back to and I don't intend to, what we tried to do is go out and meet with people, go to their schools, to go meet with them one-on-one. Because that's when you get the feedback, that's when you get the important information. Thank you.
All right, Megan Silver.
Yes, I have the best attendance record on the board, so that's really exciting to me. I actually love the decision-making process and the board meeting. The problem with board meetings, though, I think as far as interaction, is they're not my favorite. There's a degree of, we're a public body, so this is our meeting, it's open to the public, we want input from the public. However, public comment is structured such that it is difficult to have any kind of conversation, which is why I prefer to meet with folks individually. So yes, I've been very involved in the board meetings, I guess, are a tool for us to make official decisions, but as far as interacting with our community, I think there are an array of other options that we have. So thank you.
You. Another question. It says here, both Democrat and Republican parties endorse vouchers. Democrats endorse vouchers because they feel students in poverty will gain access to better schools. Republicans endorse vouchers to divert public tax dollars to private and religious institutions. AAUW does not support vouchers because of the inequities they create. What is your position on vouchers? And we will start with District G. I think we just started with D, so we'll do G. Right, no. Right, Rhonda, I'm sorry.
I wasn't sure. If I heard D, I thought I heard G as well.
No, G.
The voucher program that was proposed by the Douglas County School Board was a move towards choice, and there are many choices available in the district. In fact, my son, my oldest son, who was just married, went to DC Oaks High School, one of the great alternative schools in the district. And so as parents, we were happy to have that choice, to be able to send him there, because that was a place that he could thrive. He got more attention, smaller class sizes, and that kind of thing. This particular voucher program that the district proposed, however, I believe was hastily put together and hastily implemented. We were told by the board at one point in time it was a moneymaker, and then we were told we break even, and then we were told really nothing, and then it went to court, where the district has now spent more than $1 million defending it. $1 million that came from outside sources. There were donations, of course, but money that perhaps we could have talked to those groups and perhaps put into our classrooms. So again, hastily put together, hastily implemented.
Megan Silverthorne.
First of all, I want to challenge the assertion that Republicans want to use vouchers to divert tax dollars. I've never heard a Republican say that. I don't know. I think individuals are individuals, and every individual has an opinion. So I don't want to make any statements about what parties might think. With that being said, the district spent a great deal of time putting the voucher program together. We convened a group of citizens and that was open to the public to solicit input about the voucher program, and that was done over the summer of 2010. And we spent a lot of time and a lot of effort from folks that were out there in the community to put together the program. So I was really quite proud of the way that we structured that. I am a supporter. I believe that maximizing choice for kids is one of the best things that we can do for them. I think that the education system is for children as opposed to a system, and so I think it's a great public-private partnership that the district was able to embark upon. It is important. Thank you.
We'll move on to Barbara Chase.
That's right. It is my understanding that it was against the state constitution to instill the voucher program, which I found an interesting decision for our board to do. There was a survey, but to my understanding, it was not the majority that were for the vouchers. So ultimately, the courts will decide this. And I think what we need to do is survey the parents again, because I think as a representative, I'm not a dictator. I serve you all. So let's see what you all think, and then we'll act accordingly.
Julie Kine.
Just sort of piggyback on what Barbara just said, I think it's really important that we not really talk all about our personal views, but about finding out what your views are as a community. And I think one of the things that many of us have been frustrated by is that we have not had our voice heard in the community. We have not been asked what we thought about the Choice Scholarship Program before it went out. And we are spending a lot of time as a district defending it and talking about it. I have such respect for choice in our school district, but I have respect for public choice. Public education provides access to all. I do not see a reason for public dollars to be diverted to private schools in order for students to get the best education possible. I would like to see our district focus its attention back on our public schools and many wonderful choices, including charters and I hate that term. Including charters and alternative schools and homeschooling and online learning, all of those things that they have available to them.
Okay, it's time to move on. Doug Benevento? Oh! Judith?
Well, let me tell you a story about one of the voucher recipients. This child was in a public middle school. He was struggling, he was bullied, he was an autistic child who could not function in that environment. He got a scholarship. His parents desperately wanted a place and found a place for him with teachers and staff who understood his conditions, understood the things that he needed. They were set to send him to that school. The district was sued, and that child had no place to go. He is now an online student, because that is the Douglas County online school, is the place where he can get an education, where he can function, but it's certainly not an ideal situation. It's a mixture of homeschooling and the online school that allows this child to get an education. That's who the voucher program was designed to serve that small number of kids that can't be served in our public buildings.
All right. Now, Doug Benevento.
Thank you. And thank you, Julie, for having a position, because my second debate, and I'll tell you my position. I support it. It's difficult to tell the position of some because they don't give it. I will tell you my personal view. I supported it as a basis. We decided we were going to have a pilot program for 500 kids. 500 kids. And we were going to see if there was any demand outside of our public school system, our charters, for those kids. Because we want kids to get in a situation that's best for them. There was that demand, and so we implemented the program. The Denver Court of Appeals has indicated it is a legal and constitutional program in the pending certiorari before the Colorado Supreme Court. I believe that we have an obligation as leaders, as adults, as a Board of Education, to put kids in the best spot where they can learn, where they can best learn. That's our job. Thank you.
All right. Bill Hodges.
Well, first of all, we'll have to wait for the court decision with the Colorado State Supreme Court. So depending on what their decision is, I, as your board member, would uphold that decision, whatever it may be. Personally, I am not in favor of vouchers. I do not believe we should take public tax dollars and put it toward private tuition.
Next question. Do you see education primarily as a business endeavor or a public good? And explain why in either case. So we will start with Barbara Chase.
That's interesting because I am a businesswoman selling software the last 23 years. And I absolutely believe that the public education system is a public trust, something to be nurtured and cared for. And it unnerves me when I hear about talking about customers versus partners in education. I think that everybody needs to partner with the schools. You don't know who your doctor is going to be. You don't know who your wait staff is going to be. You don't know, who's going to help you with the catheter in your golden years. We absolutely need to make sure that every child is educated, and it shouldn't be about profit.
Julie Klein.
I think that's a fabulous question, because I think a lot of people like to think that governmental entities can be run as a business. And some of the things are transferable. We want to provide good customer service. We want to do the best we can with the dollars we have, provide the best possible product to our children, our product being a public education for our children. Some of the things that don't transfer, though, are turning customers away. In a business, you can turn a customer away. If you choose not to serve that customer, you can tell them to take their business elsewhere. In public education, you cannot do that. I think it's very important for us to realize that it is a responsibility that we have to the future of our country to educate our children in the most effective way possible. That may not be the cheapest way or the most popular way, but the most effective way. And we have to offer alternatives to children who learn in very different ways. Thank you.
Judy Reynolds.
I believe that we educate our children because we have decided as a society that that's a public good. And again, what we need to do with that public education and how we do it is in a way that best serves our community, it best serves our children. And so that allows for choices. I don't believe that there is strictly a public model that works. I don't believe that the private sector works. I believe we need to take the best of both of those models and blend them into our public system.
Thank you. Well, and I think Julie put it well when she did talk about customers, because we do have customers, and customers are our students and our parents, and we need to treat them like that. We need to treat them like people who are coming in and asking for a service, and that service is educating their children. And that's what we should be about. It's about educating our children. It's a public good, it's a public trust, it's a public obligation, it's whatever you want to, phrase you want to put on it. And that goes back to, we need to put our kids in the best situation for them so that they can learn and they can be educated. And we need to provide parents with choices, a broad array of choices. Not, okay, we've hit the limit of choice, now let's not do any more. I was talking with someone the other day about open enrollment. You all may be familiar with that. You can go to any school within the district and the state. That was a controversial piece of legislation 20 years ago. Nobody today would say that we should go back on that, nor would anybody say we should go back on charters. We need to continue to provide choices to our customers, our parents, and our students. Thank you.
Bill Hodges.
Having, as I mentioned to you in the beginning, a broad perspective and understanding of both the public and the private sector, I understand both sides of the question, and I believe that public education is for the public good. I believe I should try to do what's best for your children. You should do the best for my children. I am not a customer. A customer is passive. Educating our children is not passive. It is a partnership. It is a collaboration with the teachers and the staff about how best to educate the individual child. So I don't want to be a customer. I want to be a partner, and I want to be a collaborator.
Rhonda Schulte.
The answer to the question, I believe it is a public trust, and that public education is for the public good. It's for all the children, and it's for the community as a whole, because as each of our children graduates and goes on to college or into the workforce, what they have meant to this community, what they bring back to this community is something for all of us. We all win when our children do well. There are some tidbits of the private sector that work in a public school system, for example, pay for performance. It has been something that's been implemented, although in past years perhaps better than the current one. But we do hold our teachers and all our staff to a high goal, and they need to meet that in order to educate our children. So the two can be blended to a certain extent, but the bottom line is this is a public trust, it is for the public, and it is for all of us.
All right, Megan, so
Education is something that we as a society, we as a group of individuals have come together and said we want our kids to have this. Public education is a bedrock of our society. It's something that we as a society have been doing for a long time, decades and decades, and our society has become better for it. My grandfather was an immigrant from Mexico who did not go past the 8th grade. And I was the first in the family to graduate college. So education is a great, great equalizer. So I think what can we learn from the business world is how can we put the best education out there for our kids? How can we be responsive to parents? How can we be responsive to our community? What does that look like? That doesn't mean that education is a business. It means that we are learning lessons from how to listen to you and how to understand what you want from this institution that is yours. Thank you.
all right. And this one we will start with District D. Can we come? Should boards of education endorse political candidates locally or nationally?
As the great unaffiliated registered voter, absolutely not. No, I think that our public education is something that belongs to all of us and rises above any political agendas that may exist out there. I do want to ask you a couple of things as we move on here, though, since I have a little extra time. Would you please make sure that you listen very carefully to what is being told to you and ask for supporting documentation for what is being presented? I know I will be happy to give you my information, my email, and I will provide you supporting documentation for every figure that I get to you, and there will always be outside sources or the district's own reports that will support those items that I'm sharing with you. So please listen carefully and also ask a friend, if you don't have kids in the school, or look yourself, are the things that we're hearing are going on in the school district, the great things really happening in our schools? I haven't seen it, and I'm one of the most involved parents in the school district. Thank you.
Judy Reynolds?
Since we got a little off track, would you please repeat the question for me?
Sure. Should boards of education endorse political candidates locally or nationally?
I don't believe that the board necessarily should do that as an individual. If that's something that an individual chooses to do, that's their decision.
Mr. Benevento?
No. And I think that it is, again, I have to agree with Julie. I would also ask you to talk to somebody about the district. Go to your high schools and talk about class sizes. Class sizes are down. Go to those people and ask about the number of classes that are being offered, because that number is up. Go and ask, let's pull the budget and find out how much we were spending now and how much we were spending in 2009. $1.9 million less, 20 less. I would ask you to go and all those figures. I would ask you to look at our ACT scores. I would ask you to look at our graduation rates. All are up. So I agree with Julie again. Pull the numbers, pull the facts, talk to people, and what you will find is that we are better off now than we were 4 years ago.
Mr. Hodges?
I find those comments very interesting when in public this board endorsed Mitt Romney in the 2012 election, that Rick Santorum won the Republican vote. My position is that board positions are apolitical. I would not endorse a Democrat or a Republican in a state, local, or national election.
Rhonda Schulte?
A school board should be nonpartisan, no matter what political party or unaffiliated party that the school board member belongs to. And in keeping with that, I was dismayed when the school board endorsed a candidate for president last year. There was no reason to do that, and I would hope in the future it doesn't happen again.
Right, Megan, so,
Well, now it's become obvious, I guess, what we're talking about. The Mitt Romney endorsement was not an endorsement of the Board of Education. It was an endorsement of individuals on the Board of Education, just to make sure that that's absolutely clear. I know there are a lot of folks who don't think that there is a distinction, and that's fine if you don't want to think that, but there was not a decision of the board. The board did not vote on an endorsement, and the board did not make the decision as the Board of Education. So individuals, as a matter of free speech, can endorse whomever they like. So I would put that out to you, that everybody has free speech rights and everybody can get out there and support a candidate if they choose to do so. So that would be my answer to that question.
let me just remind you, I know you feel strongly about your Board of Education. Please don't register support or opposition to Barbara Chase.
I'm running as unaffiliated as well because I do think, well, this is a nonpartisan race, and I think politics should stay out of education. So I agree that the board should not endorse political parties or individuals, and I do find it interesting when political parties endorse school board candidates. I also think it goes the other way, and I kind of tilt my head a little. I don't understand why that's important, so I'm adamantly against.
We're coming up to 7:05 when we were going to take a break, 10-minute break. Now, this is optional, I'm just told. So I'm going to let you, choice is a good thing, right? I'm going to let you I'm going to let you choose. How many would like to continue on? Okay, how many would like a break? All right, those of you who would like to take a little break, if you can just quietly in and out. Okay, moving on, the next question is, who is funding your campaign? Democrats, Republicans, teachers union, other. So who is funding your campaign? And let's see, now do I start with District E?
If you wish.
Okay, District E. Doug Benevento.
Yes, except for the teachers' unions, the people you mentioned. And when it comes to talking about politics in this election, I think there's a way to take it off the table. And I hope Bill can agree with me on this, that there's going to be a lot of money flowing in this race for over the years, quite frankly. We can't control it, most of it, because it's out there. But I think that we should agree that anybody who gives us money, or anybody that funds an ad for us or against us to support our candidacy, we should recuse ourselves from voting on any financial matter or contract before that, if that group comes before the board. I hope, Bill, you can agree with that. I hope you agree that if somebody gives us $100 or $1,000 and wants a contract, or if they run an ad attacking you, that we would recuse ourselves. I would recuse myself from that vote. And I hope, Bill, that you agree with me on that.
Bill Hodges.
I don't see a problem with that. I had received individual donations upon announcing my candidacy about 6 or 7 weeks ago. It's a broad spectrum of Democrats, Republicans, and unaffiliated. Individual contributions. No organization, no company, no corporation, but from individuals.
Rhonda Schulte.
I too have had a wide base of support in this election. Some of my donations have come from folks in this room, and I thank you very much for that. Mostly individuals, although I will say somebody came from outside of Douglas County because my family lives in Nebraska and Missouri. So my family supports me, I can at least say that, but mostly within the state of Colorado.
Megan Silverthorne.
Donations to my campaign have come from across the district, from friends and from supporters, from individuals who have called me, and I don't even know who, we've not met before, so it was really gratifying to see that. I have also had a couple of friends from out of state, they're friends, people that say, that I would love to support your candidacy. But overall, it's a broad array of individuals that I'm very proud to get the support from. Thank you.
Barbara Chase?
I must confess, outside money came in from my mom and dad, $500. And I actually told them I was bummed about that because I wanted everything to come from Douglas County, so maybe I shouldn't quite cash that check yet. So yes, everything's from an individual. I honestly don't know because I don't ask, are you Republican, Democrat, or unaffiliated, because I don't think it matters. And I've not accepted any money from the union or any other large organization, for the record.
Julie Kine?
I believe very strongly that we should not be accepting money from any organization that may have any tie to our position on the school board. I have received only donations from individuals, rather small for the most part. The biggest contributor is me and my husband. My uncle, who also lives outside of Douglas County, gave $100, so he's clearly not as generous as your family. I'll have to speak to him about that. But I think it's very important for you all to understand that I will not take money from any special interest group, and I have not funded or asked anyone to fund an ad for me or anything else. Everything that is done is being done by individual contributors who support me and what I am trying to do for our community. Thank you.
Judy Reynolds?
I too have gotten a wide variety of donations. I honestly don't know party affiliation. Some of them are from people and friends that I know fairly well. Some of them are from people that I don't know at all.
All right. Next question. This is for all of the candidates. Both Adams County and Douglas County school boards have been accused of hoarding money in their reserve account that could have been used to keep class sizes smaller in the last few years of low economy. How do you think reserves can or should be used? And we will start with District G. Rhonda Schultz.
To be good stewards of taxpayer dollars, we always need to keep reserves. But the level of reserves, of course, is up for discussion, and that's what we're talking about right now. As a member of the Parker South Metro Fire Board, we always want to make sure that we have reserves so that if we need to replace a fire truck, if we need to replace equipment, if there's something wrong with the fire station, we get that taken care of because we don't want to put anyone in this room in danger, anyone who's in South Metro. And the school district should be the same way. However, there is a limit to the amount of reserves that you can say that you're holding back without being miserly and impacting our children's education. In the particular example of Douglas County, there is an $83 million reserve fund. Now the board will say some of that is earmarked for different programs. The parents of certain students, special needs students, will say that money's not being spent. Why is it just sitting there? Money should be spent. As taxpayers, we put it into the kitty. We say spend it for the good of the children. But we need to, of course, have something in reserve.
We need to move on. All right. Barbara Chase. Oh, but Megan Silverthorne. Sorry.
I can't speak to Adams County. I've spoken with two of their board directors, but that's it. Regarding our reserve fund, people talk about an $83 million figure, which sounds astounding. The actual unassigned fund balance is much, much less. And the actual check register balance on June 30th of 2012 was $83 million plus $17 million capital money. So that money is long spent. Who remembers their check register balance on June 30th of last year? I don't. So we want to keep that money at such that we can use it for a rainy day fund. It comprises less than a month's salary, to be honest, the unassigned fund balance. The federal government has shut down We now have money to fund things that the federal government otherwise may not be able to fund for us. We have that rainy day fund to fall back on. So we're really excited about being able to provide for our kids, whereas if we didn't have that reserve fund, we would not be able to.
Now, Barbara.
Yes, I agree, it's raining. So I agree too that yes, and it's state law actually that you keep a certain percentage. So we actually met with Bonnie Betts and Dr. Fagan just last week actually. And Bonnie Betts confirmed that we need to keep 14 million in the bank. And we confirmed that there is currently 83 million in there right now. And yes, several millions are earmarked. But there's about 16.7 million that is this rainy day fund, and I think there needs to be some discussion with teachers and to make sure that we are funding them appropriately to make sure that we optimize that education for our kids.
Julie Kine.
Oh, I mean, it's so not going to be enough for this one for me. The CPA me wants to talk about it. But I'm not going to talk about the fund balance so much. Everyone talks a lot about that. Let's talk about year to year, how we can't seem to figure out what our budget is and what we should be spending on our children each year. This year, we just got the new financial statements. They're not audited yet, so we can talk about an old fund balance of $83 million. But we had a board meeting last night, and there were detailed financial statements released. In those financial statements, we once again have an unanticipated increase in our fund balance. We had projected to spend our fund balance down by about $23 million, but instead we've increased it again by $6 million, being off by nearly $30 million. Those are $30 million that could go back into the schools. Let me just tell you that our high school students were asked to go to school part-time starting last year. I was in a meeting with CFO Bonnie Betts in February 2011 where she said there was $15 million of unassigned money. The cost to educate our students full-time is $3.6 million. We had it, and we chose not to spend it. Thank you.
Judy Reynolds.
Earlier, I told you Douglas County does things very differently. We site-based budget. The district does not control the money. The principals are given the money based on the number of pupils in their school. Then they, the parents, the teachers, and the community members of their school accountability committees sit down and set priorities for that building. They decide how the money is spent in our schools. When that money is spent, when they make their priorities, they sometimes decide that the best priority is to save for something. One of our high schools just opened a brand new library with their carryover funds. Douglas County High School, because they did not estimate the number of their kids right, have the money in reserve to educate all of the kids at Douglas County High School this year.
Dr. Benevento.
Thank you. Barbara has it right. There's about a $17 million, not $83 million. The balance of that goes to different functions, including school lunch programs, including kindergarten, that I presume these folks don't want to cut, but they're saying we should spend it on something else. Perhaps they do. $17 million is one-time money, so any calls to spend it on ongoing expenses is irresponsible because it is not ongoing money. It is one-time money that we save. Second, it is in fact raining. The federal government shut down, and we were briefed on this last night. And what we were briefed on last night is that there are certain nutrition services programs, and if the government stays shut down, they will not fund. We will be able to because we have a rainy day fund, because we've saved it for an emergency. That is why we have a rainy day fund. With respect to the $6 billion, we have a $500 million budget. I will not apologize for budgeting conservatively, and we turn those dollars into the classroom as soon as possible. Thank you.
Mr. Hodges.
I don't disagree. First of all, the Tabor Amendment requires that we keep 3% in our ending fund balance, so that by state law is a requirement. And on top of that is then the rainy day fund. I believe you need a rainy day fund. I lived through the recession of 2008 as a senior leader of the school district where we were faced with losing enrollment, and this school district had built its budget on student growth, and with the recession, we immediately started to cut. We had a 4-year plan. We had a letter of credit that enabled us to use, if we had to, which we never did, if our expenses were raised too high. So I believe we do need a rainy day fund. I just believe this board has gone too far to the right with how much they believe needs to be kept in that budget.
Okay, we have a new question. Beyond financial transparency, what will you do as a board member to provide greater transparency to the community on all major issues? And we'll start with Barbara Chase.
Okay, this is kind of snarky, but wouldn't it be great to use those commercial funds to do that after the fact in regard to what's been accomplished? Absolutely, and actually the district has done an awesome job in regard to improving the number of newsletters, if you guys are email people like myself. So I think that's great. That's awesome. So let's keep that great thing going with emails. Let's keep the website, which they updated. I think that's awesome. And I think the biggest change is to offer a survey and then have sessions like this after we're in that are fun because they're conversational.
Julie Kine.
I would do a lot of things to increase transparency. The first thing I would do is to create additional advisory groups. We have some. I would create additional. They're wonderful ways for individuals to get involved in our school district and be part of the decision-making that is brought up through the process and brought to consideration for the board. I would welcome people with the different viewpoints onto the committees that exist currently and that would be created. Because I believe through healthy discussion and discourse, we come up with the best ideas. Groupthink does not allow us to make the right choices. We must always challenge ourselves and one another to make the best choices possible for our students. I would also I would change the way we do public input in a meeting. I would make it so that people could actually speak the night that something was being discussed. I would be sure that all of the information was available on the website before so people could be informed, and I would welcome thoughts beforehand so we could research things before there's the discussion at the board level. Thank you.
Judy Reynolds.
Transparency and communication in our community is vital to making sure that we're getting the education that we need for our kids. I actually spent part of my summer with 4 other District Accountability Committee members working on the things that we could do to improve that particular meeting so that we could get more input and relevant input from the people that were attending the meetings. We updated our website. We have restructured the way that our meetings work so that conversations revolve around topics as they happen, as opposed to having a comment session at the end of the meeting so that we can get input on those things. We're sending out small surveys or questions on our website in order to get input on the issues that are important to the people that participate in those particular committees.
Mr. Benevento.
Thank you. First, I want to thank Bill for agreeing. I think the pledge to not vote on something for anybody who gives us a campaign contribution or gives us a contribution or makes a contribution that supports our candidacy, runs an ad. I think that's big, because I think that's what that's telling you is we're not up for sale. And I think the first level of transparency after that should be that we're not going to benefit from this job. We're not going to take, I think all the candidates say, we're not going to take a nickel out of the district for expenses, travel, trips, meals, anything. And that, I think, includes the foundation. I think we should all agree that none of us should take any foundation money either. Because you know what? It's an independent entity, but we should be separate from any question about whether we are benefiting from this personally. I like all the candidates to say that they'll agree to that. Second, what we have done, which I think is big, is we have a student representative, and Megan has done a wonderful job of the student advisory committee.
Bill Hodges.
First thing I would do as a board member is get rid of that bell. I would increase public comment from 2 minutes. I would get rid of that bell. I mentioned in the beginning we would conduct listening tours from school to school to get input. And here's where I'm going with this. We need to reinstate the district survey and then go out to the different schools and parents groups and whatever, feedback what the results were, but then we listen. Then we listen to what that particular group that we're presenting to has to say about those results, pro or con. I think we need to make a district survey from student and staff and the community and parents a part of the superintendent's annual evaluation for transparency as well.
Ms. Schultz.
We need to drastically cut back on the time that this school board spends in executive session. As a member of the Parker South Metro Fire Board, we have had 3 executive sessions in the year and a half that I've served on the board. This board spends about half of its public meeting time in executive session. I know that there are requirements by the state, and yes, you can go in executive session and talk about personnel matters and legal matters, but spending half the time in executive session leads to the suspicion that things are going on behind closed doors that we really don't know about as a public. So stop that. We need to have the discussion in the open air. Democracy is meant to be seen with the people that we serve. The discussion should be at that board desk before the vote is taken, not discussed behind closed doors. And I would bring the community in. There's a member of the audience here tonight that tried for years to get a community group to talk to the board. He's finally been successful in that with about 2 months left before the election. So the timing was interesting, to say the least, but I want to continue that.
Ms. Gilbert.
I think transparency means a lot of things to different people. What does it mean to you? I want to find out. But what I've heard from various community members is transparency means that we know what's going on. And it's my pledge to you that anybody who asks me any question about what's going on, I will give a straight answer. I've been very proud to provide that in the past. I'm happy to talk to anybody about any aspect of our district and what's going on there. I understand that the increasing legal requirements on the district, the increased, there's personnel matters, as Rhonda said, there's certain things that are required to take place behind closed doors. So if anybody has any questions about that I can answer, I'm happy to do that. It's interesting that there have been a lot of legal things that have been going on with the district. And it's not just our choice scholarship program, there's a broad array of things that we've needed to talk about. So, regardless, aside from financial transparency, I think financial transparency has been something that we've been very forthright on as well. We've been able to provide the public with a complete check register. So if anybody has questions about that, I'd love to answer that too. Thank you.
All right, the next question. Why do people think there is no choice already? Parents can live in any district or near any school. I guess the question is there inadequate choice? I guess would be the question here in Douglas County. And we will begin with District D, Julie Cunningham.
I think that we have a lot of opportunities for choice in our community. One of the issues that I face, and I think many people face, is that if you have a household that has 2 working parents, you really don't have a choice. There's only transportation to your neighborhood school. There is not transportation available to other choice schools. That's something that I would like to investigate and see if we can do something about, so that we can really provide choice and access to choice to everyone. Regarding an earlier comment about choice too, the example that Judy provided for the individual who may need to use a private scholarship, there's already a mechanism in place in the state for people with special needs to be sent to private school and paid for by the school district. It's just an individual agreement that the school district has with that school. So if we have students that are in that situation, I think that it would be wonderful for us to provide that opportunity. That is the only opportunity available to them. But that does not mean we need to open that opportunity to everyone, no matter what. Thank you.
Ms. Reynolds.
Educational choice is about what's doing best for the child. I don't think that it's my place to tell someone else what is best for their child. I don't believe that it's someone else's place to tell me what is best for my child. The decisions that I make about the education of my child, in conjunction with their teachers, and with the staff at the schools that my children attend are to be made by us. And is there ever enough choice? You know, I don't know. I do believe that we have people in our community that want different choices than we currently offer. I believe that if those choices are needed in the community, that as a community we offer charter schools if parents get together in order to do that. We offer other options when children need those other options.
All right, Mr. Benedetto?
Thank you. With respect to Julie's example, let's be clear, it's called contract schools, and they're very burdensome and really don't work very well. And so, the option certificate program we've done made it easier on parents. With respect to choice generally, I was listening to Julie's comment, and I had a thought that, I'm limited in choice by the amount of house I can buy. To the school that's in that neighborhood, and I have open enrollment, but that's not a guaranteed thing. So there are limitations on choice that are inherent in the system, and if we say there any limitation on choice should just defeat the idea, I think is wrong-headed, and we shouldn't be pursuing that. We shouldn't pursue that line. What I do believe is that we need to continue to find what works. An online school 20 years ago, who would have thought? But today we have online schools. A charter school 20 years ago was supposed to have destroyed the public education system. I don't think it did. I think we need to continue to explore choice and explore options for parents and students. Thank you.
Mr. Hodges?
I do believe that the district has set the role model, if you will, for choice in the school district, whether it's the neighborhood schools, whether it's the charter schools, it's online that Doug talked about, it's the alternative education possibilities and options that Rhonda mentioned to you earlier. I think we have a tremendous amount of choice for parents to choose from that exists in this school district, unlike any other.
Ms. Schulte?
It's already been said, there are many choices in Douglas County, whether you want to send your child to a neighborhood school, a charter school, online, if you want to homeschool. I talked to a voter, knocked on her door probably about 3 weeks ago, who was homeschooling her child and was happy to have the opportunity to be able to do that. Her son has cerebral palsy and was not fitting into any classrooms, obviously, in the district, and she felt that she could do better by him at home. So this district has been a model, quite frankly, for choice. My own son, as I indicated earlier, my older son, went to DC Oaks High School, alternative school here in Douglas County, and had a great education there. So, yes, I firmly believe in parental choice.
Silverthorne?
And I don't know whether people believe there is adequate or inadequate choice. I do know that there are folks that come to the district to start charter schools, and they believe that the choices available are not enough for them. So they get a group of parents together, and they come in front of the district, and they present an application, and then they're able to start their own school. So that as long as there are folks coming to the district with the charter applications, then those folks don't believe that there's enough choice. As far as what I don't think it is my place to tell families what their choices should be. It's not up to me. It's up to them. And the district is responsive. The district wants to help parents get the education for their children that their children want. How do we do that? Well, we work with individual parents. So to me, that's a really great opportunity for us to help our community and to help provide those choices. So we do have a broad array of choices. Is it enough? And I don't think that's up to me. I think it's up to me to help facilitate those choices. Thank you.
Barbara?
Is there inadequate choice? I actually would say, yeah, there's inadequate choice in regard to some of the buildings that we have. Because speaking on behalf of two working parents, I agree with Julie. I can't just willy-nilly drive all over that. I mean, it would be great. It's a beautiful county to drive around in, but I don't have that ability. So I really need to make sure that where the bus goes, that there's choice within that building. You know, there's been discussion about bringing shop back and career tech kind of things. And so I'd like to understand that so that, the kids that are going to be masters at their craft versus college, because we're not all cut out for that. How do we make everyone successful? So that's the only way I would take that, is let's focus on those existing buildings.
This next question, there are actually 4 different questions that deal with the subject. I'm going to read them all so that you can see. It deals with a similar topic, which has to do with negotiating with the teachers. But I wanted to read them all and then give you a chance to respond kind of to the whole suite. Let's see. The first says, if elected, do you plan to bring the union back to the negotiating table? Why or why not? Another, are any candidates willing to say at this point that they have no intention of inviting the union back to the bargaining table? Are you for reinstating the bargaining rights of the teachers' union? And the last one is, who should represent teachers in negotiations? Who would protect their rights? And so we will start with District E, Mr. Benevento.
We don't get 4 minutes, right? We get a minute.
Well, I'll tell you what. I will give you 90 seconds.
There we go. Hey, look at that. Collaboration. I feel like a customer. No, not the current leadership. I believe that we have a paper reporting system that works well and is much better than the one previously. I hope we can talk about that. With respect to who protects the teachers' rights, it certainly wasn't the teachers' union, so that's not the option. The teachers' union was collecting $1.3 million from our teachers. The measure of their commitment to the teachers was $4,900 returned in professional development. One of the reasons why we don't have a contract is that we said, if you're going to collect that money from our teachers, you're going to use it for professional development. They said no, so we pulled their tax returns. Their tax returns demonstrate that they're sending $800,000 a year back to Washington, D.C. The balance is sort of frittered away out in Denver. They were not representing the teachers. Let me give you another example of how they don't represent the teachers. And I feel very passionately about this because they were not representing the teachers. They were representing the leadership's interest. We were paying the teachers, we were paying the union representative, the union leader, $7,500. They were being paid $7,500 to negotiate a contract with us. Who was representing them? Was it, Bill, you gave them the $7,500. Was it the district? The district paid them to negotiate. The teachers were getting fair representation from that? I don't think so. They weren't getting it at all. So the union certainly wasn't representing their interests, and I think we're doing a better job.
All right, Mr. Hodges.
Well, it's not true. And I can tell you how I know. The FTE that we paid for was a part of my HR budget that I managed, that went before the board, that Doug and the other board members approved. So I know exactly what we were paying for. It was for professional development for them to have, so we could have teachers teaching teachers. This isn't about the union. This is about being right and being fair, being just, and having respect for all employees, not just teachers, bus drivers, mechanics, our classified folks, and our teachers, our administrators as well. This is about having respect, and the Federation has 60% of the teacher population in this district. They belong to the Federation. They have no voice. That's not right. When I get elected to be a board member, I will have that group included at the table to hear their voice along with everyone else's.
All right, Ms. Schulte.
I would like to bring back respect for our teachers in this district. I have talked with parents over the past few weeks, and there are those that support the union, there are those that do not support the union, but they all said the exact same thing. This district and this board does not respect our teachers, and that is why we see teachers leaving by the dozens and by the hundreds. They're highly effective teachers that are going to Littleton, they're going to Cherry Creek, and they're even going to Denver, because whether they make more money or if they have to take a pay cut, they feel at least as if they're respected. As a member of the Parker South Metro Fire Board, I'll just tell you real quickly, we deal with the union. It's Local 2164, the South Metro Firefighters Association. They are not a bargaining unit per se, but what we do is we have a memorandum of understanding with the firefighters union. So when we start talking, which we did last week, about compensation, what is fair, what is not, A couple of the representatives from the union actually sit down at the table and talk. They talk. We respect them. These are the men and women that go out every day and they save your property. They could save your life out on the highway, in your house. They could save your family. We owe them respect, just like we owe the teachers respect. Why can't teachers just sit down and talk? We should allow the community in to talk. We should allow the teachers in to talk. We should allow students and taxpayers and parents in to talk. It's talking, it's collaboration, it is a community.
Okay. Ms. Silverthorne?
I'm always happy to talk to individuals that are reasonable and honest and hardworking. I found that the existing union leadership at the time of negotiations last year was unreasonable. They had periods where they were not honest and they did not wish to be accountable for their actions. So with that being said, I would prefer to see a change of leadership. As it sits right now, I do not wish to bring the union back to the district. We have been very successful in reaching out to individual teachers. There are hundreds of teachers that are working with the district on many, many projects, and I've been really excited to see what's come out of that. I think it's a matter of interest that people want to talk about the way other people feel about individuals. I would rather talk to individuals about the way they feel about individuals. So I think with that being said, labor relations in the district is rather complex given the size of it. I think if there's folks that want to talk with us, I'm always happy to do that, and we have been doing that. That's something that I'm very proud of doing. So I think the union issue has become a larger issue than I think it really is. And I think going into this election, it's become a different dynamic than it actually sits inside the school district. So we have different groups of folks that work within the district, as far as Bill was saying, you're certified, you're classified, and your transportation. So all of them have different interests, and I'd like to talk with all of them ongoing. Thank you.
Barbara Chase?
Yeah, I sell software, and if I don't sell what I should, I get fired. So I don't really understand the union, but I am a supporter of the teachers. So if the teachers choose the union as their voice, and I am supposed to listen and represent the teacher, then isn't that my job? I don't understand why it's this big, hairy, scary thing. I really don't. There was a 47-year-old relationship. Nobody ever, no teacher unions, went on strike. So I don't understand why we can't continue to listen. Teachers, you're warm, fuzzy, huggy people. And I don't think they generally like confrontation with adults. So if they feel more comfortable having a voice, then shouldn't we respect and listen to that along with anybody else?
Julie Kine?
I believe that we need to restore an atmosphere of trust and security among our teachers. That has nothing to do with the union. That has to do with respecting our teachers, treating them as the professionals that they are, giving them the tools and the resources they need to do the best they can for the children who sit in their classroom. I don't know about most of you. I don't know that I could do that. I don't know that I could sit in front of 36 children and try to teach them all day. I think it's very important for us to realize this is a matter of respect and trust. I have a teacher that I value very much from my children's schools. She taught all 3 of my children, and she recently spoke before the board and said for the first time in her career, she's been a teacher for a long time, for the first time in her career, she felt that she could be more effective outside of the classroom than within the classroom for her children in her classes. She quit the district. She did not go anywhere else. She did not retire. She did not get a big old payout. She's now speaking out so that everyone can understand that the environment is not a trusting environment for our teachers in this situation. I also want to clarify, there seems to be some ambiguity between what a union is and what a collective bargaining agreement is. A union is an organization that people can choose to belong to and pay dues to. That is their choice, it's their money. We don't have any say over what they spend their money on. A collective bargaining agreement is where people sit down at a table and negotiate an agreement. The two things do not have to occur together. People can choose to be part of the union, but we don't have to say they sit at the table at the for a collective bargaining agreement. So, I hope that answers your question. Thanks.
Judy Reynolds?
As someone who has a master's in education and has worked in the private sector for most of my educational or working career with adults, I can say that I worked in union shops, I worked in non-union shops. I believe that if teachers want to join a union, if they see some personal benefit in joining a union, that's fine. What I have an issue with is the union negotiating for salaries that are the same regardless of how good or bad that individual is at their job. It's really important to me that our very best teachers get rewarded and get acknowledged. You know, the best teachers in Douglas County this year got an 8% raise. We had a few teachers that got no raise. In our neighboring districts, it did not matter because of the collective bargaining agreement. If you were the best teacher or the worst teacher, you got a 1.9% raise.
All right. There's one more question. There are many more, but we will have one more question. We'll go back to 60 minutes, 60 seconds, I mean. Okay. There were 4 people who asked a question similar to this. So I will just kind of summarize this one question. High school students have been increasingly upset and vocal regarding the downgrading graduation requirements, less instructional time, and elimination of advanced classes needed to enter their college of choice. What are your plans for bringing high school academics back to college level, college-ready levels? And we will begin with Rhonda.
How we prepare our children for the world beyond high school is always a very important part of being a community. And to do this, I would restore the cuts from last year. $3.6 million were cut out of our high schools. That put kids into the block schedules, that put a lot of kids out on the streets during the school year, or school day rather, when they should have been in class. I've talked to parents that are very upset with the fact that they feel like their high schoolers are not getting the education that they believe that high schoolers should get, whether they're going to college, whether they're going into the workforce after graduation. I've talked to folks that don't have any kids in school, that wonder why all those high school kids are wandering around the neighborhood at all hours of the day. And you know, that's honestly the way it is. I have a friend who doesn't want to go to the grocery store in Highlands Ranch anymore during the day because there are high schoolers at the King Soopers. So restoring those budget cuts as much as we can and putting it back to where it was is the way to give our kids the best education that we can give them.
Megan Silver.
Scheduling is a site-based decision. And so when we empower principals, communities, SACs to make those decisions, then they decide what they would like to do. So when we said, all right, well, by giving kids another choice, by adding that 8th class, we reduced the class time by a couple of minutes per day. Would you like to lengthen your school day by 2 to 3 minutes per day to restore that class time? They all said no. Nobody wanted to do that. So it's really interesting. At the school level, they clearly felt that that was not the best thing. So what I would like to do is understand at the school level what those priorities are and say, well, okay, do you believe that this is best for what your school environment is? Any child can take a full load of 8 classes. We made that commitment to restore that funding this year. That funding went back into those schools to get that done. So that's something that I was excited to have done. There are some students that don't wish to do that. We inquired with the admissions offices at various schools, and they all said if 6 of 8 was a problem, then everybody would have a problem because we have a lot of kids in that boat. Thank you.
Barbara Chase.
Yeah, I agree with Rhonda that we would use that rainy day fund to restore the $3.6 million that were cut. So I think also that there's just some confusion out there because in some instances, because the graduation requirements were cut, seniors, the classes are filled, you know, those electives or those classes are filled by the lower class Hoffman, do I say that right? So there really isn't a chair available, or it's, hey, that class is going to be another $100 or $200, etc. And so that's not really offering the education as well either. So I think it's understanding and collaborating, like Megan said, with the principals to understand that I think that money will allow us to increase the staff where necessary, and then educational choices for the students.
Julie Kine?
So let's start with site-based budgeting. Last year, our district passed only 48% of the money, of the PPR they received from the state to our high schools. 48% went to the schools. Is that a good site-based budget? I totally believe in site-based budgeting. I think it's a wonderful thing for principals to make choices about their school, but when you starve the school of the funding that they need to be successful, that is not proper site-based budgeting. So the first thing I would do is I would not only restore what was cut, I would increase what was cut. We no longer offer challenging classes to students. They cannot get into the colleges that they choose to get into because they lack the rigor, and they lack even taking classes because we've asked them not to take classes because we don't have the money to hire enough teachers at our high schools to educate all of our children. Disappointing, I will say. I have a personal experience I could talk to you about afterwards. I won't take up this time to do that. But I also would use that, what was called one-time money. If you have a budget variance that exceeds $20 to $30 million every year, that's not one time, that's an ongoing problem with your budgeting. And I would use that to create more opportunities in all schools, not just high schools. Thank you.
Judy Reynolds?
You know, I find it very disappointing that people that say they support our children are telling lies, saying that our children cannot get into good schools. That's not true. MIT was called. They said this wasn't a problem. Our kids have opportunities to take AP classes, IB classes, concurrent college enrollment classes. We have career and technical programs in our high schools across the district, from auto mechanic programs to a fire technology program to a medical program. We're providing a wide variety of choices and opportunities. The fact that people are saying that kids cannot take classes is also not true. Every principal in the district was told to allow juniors and seniors to take a full schedule where it was appropriate. I also believe that, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. I'll stop. Thank you.
Mr. Benevento?
Thank you. First one point, Bill, I didn't fund the union, I stopped funding money out of the classrooms. With respect to, I think we've solved the mystery of why all those high school kids are hanging out in Highlands Ranch. Since we have the highest graduation rate in, I think, the state of Colorado, certainly metro area, none of them can get into college because, apparently, according to these folks, with the highest graduation rate, our kids can't get in. No other district can either. Second, our class, what the plan they're calling for is an increase in class size. The reason why we went to the block schedule is offer more classes and reduce class size. And it's been successful. It's worked. So the idea, but their plan is to increase class size. Second, you can't take one-time money to spend it on an ongoing expense. And our overage this year at $500 million was $6 million, and that's in the classroom.
Mr. Hodges?
When you hire more teachers, you reduce class size. I will tell you that I talked to a mother and father within the last week about their child who could not get into Dartmouth or to Georgetown because of the lack of rigor. Our kids cannot compete on a national scale to get into these colleges that they want to. And I'm not saying everybody should go to Stanford or to Dartmouth, but we have to give our kids at least the opportunity to compete on a even level with the other kids in this state and the other kids in this country. I would gradually look at this budget and investigate where we can increase graduation requirements so that our children can become more competitive and fill their load and not be part-time students from junior to senior year as we're seeing. I went by Mountain Vista this last week, and you wouldn't believe how many kids at 1:30 in the afternoon are walking down the sidewalk. They should be in school.
This concludes our question and answer portion of the forum. Now the candidates will each have 3 minutes for their closing remarks. And we're going to proceed in reverse order this time, and we will begin with District G, Megan Silver.
I want to thank everybody for coming tonight. We're all very passionate about what happens in our schools, and I know that you all are extremely interested in what's going on. So thank you so much for being here and taking your evening out to be with us. I think as far as what's going on in our district, there's a lot of information out there. There's a lot. The volume of information is staggering. I would invite you to come and talk with us, to come and ask your questions, to understand what the facts are, and to move beyond some of the things that are out there in the community. I think there are a lot of things that are going on that you'll be pleasantly surprised to find out. Really fantastic. I mean, I'm so proud of our kids. Our kids are amazing. Our schools are fantastic. So I think that there's so many things that are out there that are really great. I would like to know, I guess, when you talk about restoring programs, when you talk about moving past some of the Great Recession things that have gone on, your district has worked so hard to do that. In 2008-9, the district was essentially in the red. The accounting rules changed in 2011, so it was easy to camouflage this. But one of the things that was happening was with the school carryover beginning the year before, the district was borrowing money from the schools to appear solvent. So what we have done, we've gotten rid of the letter of credit. We've been able to bolster the rainy day fund beyond what it was, which was nothing. We've restored it to the 3+1% that was historically being done in the school district. So I pledge to you that our financial responsibility is really solid. As far as what's going on with our kids, I think our kids have a lot of opportunities. We've driven the class sizes down. We've been able to offer them more choices. We've been able to expand our partnership with charter schools. That has been one of our great victories. We've done a lot of things with that nobody even really knows about, and I'd love to talk to anybody about that. I'm so proud of our district. I'm proud of our parents and of our kids. I think there's so many wonderful things out there to talk about, and I think a lot of this stuff is the way people are passionate, the way people want to do right by their kids. They want to do right by what's going on with our youth. It leads people down certain paths that perhaps aren't correct. So I would love to clear up any misperceptions that are out there. I'd love to talk with you about your opinion, and I represent you. I think that our community is very strong, and it's the backbone of what we've got going on here in Douglas County. And I'd love to talk with you anytime about anything. So my door is open to you. Thank you very much for being here tonight, and thanks for having me.
Rhonda Schulte.
All of you have a big decision to make in November. And it's a big burden, because when we look at each other and all the folks here in this room, we're the folks that are trying to shore up public education in Douglas County. It's really the basis of our community. And the choice that you have to make in November is, do you want to stay with the status quo? Status quo being what's happening now. Do you want to continue to see high school students out during class time when they really should be in school because they can't get those classes that they really need? Do you want to see elementary schools, like 2 in Parker, that have had to raise $25,000 apiece to pay for basic math curriculum because the district won't pay for it? Or do you want to see a district that provides all of the resources to the classroom and the teachers of the classroom that we need in order to help our children succeed? Do you want more of the status quo, where your voice is really not heard at the public school board meetings, where that buzzer that Bill would like to get rid of it, and actually I would as well because I've been there when it's gone off? Do you want to be able to actually talk to your elected officials if you disagree with them and they come to a compromise, or do you want to continue to see only the folks that agree with them being able to actually have conversations? If you do, that is the status quo. If you want to be a part of what's happening in the school district, if you want to see our children succeed, if you want teachers to have respect and perhaps even a voice where they might be able to talk once in a while and about their classrooms and what's going on in their classrooms, then you will not choose the status quo. You will vote for change. And I hope that you do that. I hope that you consider what's all been said here tonight. And as someone said a little bit earlier, please, email one of us, email myself. I will give you the links to all of the documentation that will shore up anything that we had to say tonight, because you as an informed voter have to make this decision, and like I said, it's a heavy burden. It really is. But there is a clear choice: status quo or change. Thank you.
Mr. Hodges.
Thank you again for having us and for being here. The questions have been terrific. It's been fun to answer those questions for you tonight. Despite what some people are saying about me, I am unaffiliated. I did that for a reason, because when I make decisions with what's best for kids, I don't want to be tied to any political agenda. I want to do what is best for kids in my heart and in my mind. So I'm running unaffiliated. Secondly, it amazes me to this day, and you don't see other districts doing this, if things were going so well, why would you get private funding outside to pay for PR damage control? If you were doing things right, if you were listening to all voices, I don't think you'd have to be doing that. We had over 2/3 of our elementary principals leave in the last 3 years. 30 teachers plus during this current regime of the board left Chaparral High School. Things aren't working. I need your support on November 5th. Thanks for coming. It's been my pleasure.
Mr. Benedict.
Thank you.
And this is good. I mean, this is American democracy. This is what we do. We get together, we talk, we debate, you vote. I mean, this is you don't see this in very many places in the world, particularly some of the places that show up in the news most often. I have a few comments. I was surprised by Bill's comments that the first thing he would do when he got in would be gradually look at the budget. Apparently kids aren't getting into college and there's these roaming packs of students on the street, but you're just going to gradually look at the budget. If that were true, and it's not, we would be doing more than gradually looking at the budget. Second, I'd still like to challenge the candidates. I mean, we had a transparency question. Let's live up to it. Let's all agree we're not taking any money from the district. Travel expenses is a big thing that goes on in Broadmoor, where it's kind of funny for you, where they pull an expense from somebody who got like a $25 hamburger room service. It was embarrassing for that district. Let's not do it. I haven't. None of us should do it. And that includes foundation money. We should all agree we're not going to take any foundation money from them while we're serving. It's the right thing to do. Second, our turnover rate is down. Bill was an assistant superintendent for HR. Our turnover rate among teachers is lower than when he was at head of HR. Clearly, we're moving in the right direction. Our test scores are up. I just want to run through some numbers. Our test scores are up for 10th graders in science. Our test scores are up for math 9 and 10. Our test scores are up for reading 9 and 10. Our CSAT PCAP results are up for writing 9 and 10. Our Colorado ACT results are up. All of those numbers are up. The number of students who are going into International Baccalaureate are up. The number of students who are taking tests on AP and International Baccalaureate are up. Our AP test total numbers, 2,569 in 2009, 4,145 today. Our AP students scoring 3+, 1,870 in 2009, 2,884 today. Number of AP tests taken, 44,513 in 2009, 7,305 today. Concurrent enrollment classes, 5 in 2008-9, 54 today. Concurrent enrollment students, 91 in 2008-9, 2,842 today. Our class sizes are down because of the block schedule, as Megan has indicated. But we've told schools if they want to pick up that extra few minutes a day, they can, but we have more classes for students, we have lower class size, we have more satisfied teachers based upon a self-health survey that was done by the state of Colorado. Thank you very much. Please vote.
Ms. Reynolds.
Thank you all for coming tonight. You know, I got involved in things at a district level in the 2008-2009 school year when this district was in financial crisis. I didn't understand at that time why what was happening. What I now know is that in that school year, the state took money back from our district in the middle of the year. They said, yeah, we promised that to you, but we don't have it. You know, the decisions that have been made in this district are largely based on finances. We are the lowest funded district in the metro area. And I'm sure that most of you believe that your property taxes pay for our schools, right? About 30% of our budget comes from your local property taxes. For that other 70%, just under 70%, we are at the whim of the state for our money. So yes, we've had cuts in the last few years. I'm the last to say that things have been perfect. I was involved as a parent in helping to make decisions about some of those cuts. But what I see is that over the course of the last 4 years, our school board has been very prudent with our money, with our state money and our local money. They're making sure that more money is going to the classroom. Last year, 63% of the dollars that came in went to the district or went to the classroom. This year, it's over 64%. As a parent, I want to see that number to continue to increase. I want to make sure that the money is going to educate the kids. I believe that that's what our focus should be on. Our focus should be on getting kids an education that's appropriate for them, whether they're college-bound, whether they're Ivy League school-bound, or whether they're going to go into a skill or a career technical job. We need to make sure that all of our kids have the skills that they need in order to be good citizens in the future.
This time.
Thank you. Gosh, I don't even know where to begin. There's so many things to talk about. While scores are up in some areas, they're up very slightly, and for the most part, the majority of scores are down, so you know. We also measure something called growth, which means, is a child learning 1 year's worth of education in 1 year's time? We're down in all areas of growth of education in the school district in the last couple of years. That's a question we should be asking. Not what our test scores are, because we have kids that do well on tests, we have kids who don't do well on tests. Those are very sort of arbitrary, aren't they? But the fact that they aren't consistently getting a year's worth of education in the testing that they're doing is concerning to me. Gosh, so many other things. The TEL survey, so much discussion about the TEL survey. The majority of the results from the TEL survey were based on the teachers' experiences in their own schools. I actually happened to be volunteering when TEL surveys were going on, and I specifically heard the teachers being told to answer those questions in relation to their own school and not in relation to the district. There was one question about the district, and that was about whether or not you had plans to leave the district. We had, our teachers responded at a rate 18 times that of Cherry Creek's teachers for wanting to leave their school district at this time. That's concerning as well. Again, please ask for the supporting documentation for the information. I have gone to Colorado Department of Education reports, our own budget books, and I have calculated the amount that is passed through from the per pupil revenue to the schools. On average, last year was 52%. 52%. But let me tell you that in the last 4 years, as we've had those state budget cuts, 75% of the cuts were passed down to the schools. That's interesting too, huh? At least it should be equal, right? They should only have to take 52% of the cuts, if they're only getting 52% of the dollars. That's not the case. 75% of the dollars were going to the schools. So enough of the negativity though. I have such a great experience in Douglas County. I've had such a great experience in Douglas County. I have seen so many kids grow and flourish, my own included. I believe that we can be the great school district that we were and will continue to be in the future with the right leaders in place. I believe that we can oversee excellence, and I believe it's very attainable. We have amazing teachers and amazing students in the school district, and I believe we will be great again, and I would like to be part of that. So please consider voting for me on November 5th or before that when you receive your ballot. Thank you so much. Goodbye.
Barbara Chase.
Gosh, so many things have been said, and what I want you to remember from me is I agree with Julie and Bill and Rhonda. I want to reverse the decline. I want to reverse the decline of the overall state assessments that have gone down since 2009. I want to reverse the less instructional time. So yes, classes got smaller in some instances because they shortened the class period. And I can speak from personal experience. I just had to hire a tutor again for my Miss Mackenzie in 9th grade, who's in honors geometry, and the teacher is going too fast because the class time has been shortened. So it's now costing us $90 a week so that she can succeed in that class. I'm thankful that we can afford that. I don't know that everybody else can, and I don't think that's fair. I want to bring back our accreditation with distinction. I think that's so cool to say and so proud to say, and we've said that for so long, but then that got stripped away while Littleton kept theirs. So let's figure out how we bring that back, and how do we bring back the collaboration with the teachers. I cannot tell you how many teachers email me, call me, stop me, but of course they're afraid to donate more than $20 because their names will show. What country do we live in that somebody is afraid that they'll be fired if they say that they're not happy with something? That is just in my gut disturbing, because I absolutely love the banter and I love discourse, because as Julie said earlier, I think you get better and stronger for that when you have that mix. So, typically in the past, it's, I think it's 13 or 17%. It's not very many that actually vote in a school board election. So I think it's the duty of all of you in this room to send a message. Send a message with your vote, because as we all agree up here, and I respect everyone, you think that we got paid $1 million for this job. It is volunteer, by the way. So you would think that, and I respect everybody for being so passionate about it. However, there is a clear choice in regard to the direction going forward. So please remember that and send that message and talk to as many people as you can between now and November 5th so that they don't recycle that ballot. They actually vote on it and turn it in so that we all can understand what direction does this county want in this wonderful school district we have. Barbara Chase, District B.
Let's thank the
Well, this was great. Thank you. No, I really appreciate all the candidates. The answers to the questions tonight weren't they great? Weren't they great? Yeah, in a democracy we need people to run. and it's really important, and I think we have all of these guys are super. I want to thank you all for coming. We are finished on time. Without a break.
Without a buzzer.